Hello, friends. Today, in what would have been David Lynch's birthday, I would like to talk a little bit about him and a little bit about what he meant to me and what I found out he meant to other people. Maybe for people who aren't familiar with him, or if you aren't familiar with his work, this can enlighten you a little and can give you a clue of why we feel so strongly about him. And for those who do know him and for those who are mourning him, maybe I'm hoping that this can give you a space to feel your grief and feel his presence. So, to start, I would like to talk a little bit about my personal experience with David Lynch. I should say his work because I haven't met him in person, but the one thing you have to know about David Lynch is that he put himself 100% into his work. And so everyone that has seen his movies or Twin Peaks, um, everyone feels like they've personally sat down and had a conversation with David Lynch because that's how his work operated. It was like just putting all of his essence into the work. And so there's something metaphysical about it, there's something spiritual, magical, religious, even if you want to see it that way, that is like propelling these projects and like puts them into your heart, into your soul, in a way that I haven't experienced in many other works of art. For everyone who loves David Lynch, there will always be something that sort of shifted when you experienced him. For me, this was definitely Twin Peaks. It was a TV show that I watched at a moment when I was watching a lot of television, and I remember it was what was being called the golden age of television. Some people call it the second golden age of television, but it was basically this surge of prestige dramas becoming popular. You had Breaking Bad, you had True Detective, many others. And it was an amazing time to be a fan of television because there were just so many amazing TV shows out there. And I was obsessed with television. I was watching everything. And I kept hearing people mention Twin Peaks as the TV show that you had to watch if you were a fan of television. And so I did. And watching Twin Peaks, from the first episode, I understood that it was something special, that it was something different, but I also just immediately felt it. I cannot explain what that feels like. It's just like kind of like the feeling of making a puzzle piece fit with another. It's just like feeling like the way you see the world and the way you experience the world is being portrayed so accurately in a TV show. But that's about not about people that I can necessarily relate to, although I did come from a small town. So if you don't know, Twin Peaks is about the murder of a woman, of a young girl in a small town, and how that sets off a chain reaction that changes the whole town. And if that plot sounds familiar, that's because David Lynch's impact has spread through all sorts of different media: video games, books, comics, anime, you name it. Everyone who creates stuff has been impacted by David Lynch some way or another, directly or indirectly. So there are chances that even if you don't know him, you have experienced people who are inspired by him, and you have indirectly been impacted by his work. So it is very hard to overstate his impact and his legacy. And we were lucky to see, to witness what it was like to have a living legend. Um, I don't think that is something that we get to see a lot these days. And just knowing that he was alive, that he was working, for me felt it just filled me with so much hope seeing someone continue to work in that way. So I will always cherish him as an unapologetic expression of being yourself. I think probably the biggest lesson I could take from his work is just being true to the ideas and true and to yourself by extension. And I have nothing but gratitude to him and everything he stood for, his work with transcendental meditation, and all of his movies, all of the talks he did on creativity, courses, and just how much he wanted to give something to the world, not just through his art, but also through who he was as a person. I think he understood, he became sort of an icon, and he actively fought the dehumanization that comes with that. You know, it's very easy to choose to go to the dehumanization of it because it can give you some protection in some ways when people see you as more than human or as bigger than life. But every time I heard him talking, all he did was just remind people that he was a human being like everybody else, and that he wasn't this special, different than the rest artist. He was just someone who was true and loyal to his ideas and who had very positive wishes for humanity and for everybody. And today, his family wished to remember him or to honor him on what would have been his birthday as through a worldwide meditation session that lasted only 10 minutes. And I was able to join this meditation, which happened online on a Zoom call. And it was actually very powerful to know that there were people all over the world doing this together and just like honoring his legacy, understanding how important this was for him, and also sort of connecting with his message, which they played after the meditation was over. They played a message that he set up or that he wanted to share with the world. He recorded just some time before passing. And I can't remember it word for word, but basically what he said is that he wished that everybody would be free of illness, that there would be abundance everywhere, and that just everyone could be happy. And the simplicity of that message just, to me, just shows something so fundamental about what it takes to be an artist. If you want to make art and if you want to move people with your art, you have to understand that what you're doing is for humanity and that art is always for humanity, and that cannot be separated. You cannot separate yourself from humanity if you want to be an artist. And humanity, caring for humanity, comes with caring for many different issues that are so much bigger than just what one artist can do, but that doesn't grant you the privilege of looking away. If you look away from what is happening with humanity, who is your subject, and you can't separate it from your art, basically you're turning down an aspect of your art, and it will never fully be art that speaks to humanity if you're not looking at it. So there will be problems, there will be issues that maybe are too hard to talk about, but you don't get to look away as an artist. And I think that is another lesson that I personally take from David Lynch's commitment to being human and to humanity as a whole. We don't get to look away, especially if you're an artist. Anyone on earth shouldn't have the privilege of looking away when there is suffering. But especially the artists are the ones who should be more in tune with it because it affects us directly. You don't get to just look away, to just like ignore it, because if it affects humans, it affects art, and if it affects art, it affects the artists. There's no way you can separate those things. So I could talk about more about what David Lynch's legacy means to me and what I think it will mean for all of us collectively. But I think today I would just like to say that he was in many ways a father for many artists. He was like a mentor to the world, and through his work, as abstract and as subliminal as it could be, there was always something very direct and very transparent about it, and there was this feeling of like the Lynchian quality of seeing the world, which was like acknowledging the horror, acknowledging the pain, but also finding the beauty and finding the undescribable feelings of connection and joy in life. So I invite anyone that hasn't experienced his work to watch it, make your best effort to watch something, whatever calls to you. And for those who are mourning him, I invite you to understand that someone like him can't just go. In having him present in your memory and in your work, in your lives, he just can't go away. So I am filled with his loss. I feel it and it's painful, but at the same time, I think he just can't go. He's here in many ways, in more ways that we can understand, in more ways than I can talk about. So that is my message for today, and I hope you felt a little bit of what it means, what David Lynch became, and what he means to so many people.